Hi, welcome to our channel of IGNOU audiobooks, Indira Gandhi National Open University, School of Law, SOL, Certificate in Consumer Protection, CCP, CPI 10 to Redressal of Consumer Grievances, Role of Various Stakeholders, Block-1 Role of Media and State Government in Consumer Protection, Unit 3 Role of the State and the Government, 3.1 Objectives. After studying this unit, the learner shall be able to understand the role of Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India towards bringing legislative changes for consumer protection, define Consumer Welfare Fund, define Consumer Protection Unit, understand the key provisions of Legal Metrology Act, and understand the key provisions of Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS. 3.2 Introduction. The necessity of adopting measures to protect the interest of consumers arises mainly due to the helpless position of the consumers. Consumers have the basic right to be protected from the loss or injury caused on account of defective goods and deficiency of services. But they hardly use their rights due to lack of awareness, ignorance, or lethargic attitude. However, in view of the prevailing malpractices and their vulnerability, it is necessary to provide them physical safety, to protect their economic interests and statutory measures for redressal of their grievances. The enactment of the Consumer Protection Act, 1986 has been aimed at providing simple, quick, and cheaper protection to the consumers under a three-tier judicial quasi-judicial redressal mechanism which directly pertains to marketplace and seeks to redress complaints arising from it. It was aimed at extending social benefit to consumers and promote consumer awareness. The Act provides certain rights to the consumers: right against exploitation by unfair trade practices, right to protection of health and safety from the goods and services the consumers buy or are offered free, right to be informed of the quality and performance standards, ingredients of the product, operational requirements, freshness of the product, possible adverse side effects, and other relevant facts concerning the product or service, right to be heard if there is any grievance or suggestions, right to get genuine grievances redressed. Consumer has to right to be informed of the quality, price, operational requirements, adverse side effects, if any, and other relevant facts about the products, right to choose the best from a variety of offers. The consumer has a right to choose from available goods. This right will be exercised only if a variety of goods is available, right to physical environment that will protect and enhance the quality of life. The policies, schemes and programs of the Government of India through the Department of Consumer Affairs are no doubt useful, but their effectiveness finally depends on the involvement of the institutions and the people at large. A number of schemes have already been in operation for the welfare of the consumers, such as Grahak Jagran, consumer clubs in educational institutions, promoting involvement of research institutions, universities, colleges, etc. in consumer protection and welfare. Similar schemes and programs are operating at the state government level in order to provide further impetus to the consumer movement in the country. Organizations of the civil societies are having special responsibility in this regard, and so is the case of the educational institutions. Consumer movement is a socio-economic movement which seeks to protect the rights of consumers in relation to the goods purchased and services availed. The main objectives of the Consumer Protection Program are I. To create suitable administrative and legal mechanisms which would be within the easy reach of consumers and to interact with both government and non-governmental organizations to promote and protect the welfare of the consumers. 2. To involve and motivate various sections of society including consumer organizations, women and youth to participate in the program. 3. To generate awareness among consumers about their rights and responsibilities, motivate them to assert their rights so not to compromise on the quality and standards of goods and services and to seek redressal of their disputes. In consumer fora, if required. 4. To educate the consumers as to be aware of their rights and social responsibilities. This unit focuses on the role of the state and the government in the protection of consumers. Here we will discuss the evolution of the Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India, the kind of the work entrusted to this department. 3.3 Evolution of Department of Consumer Affairs, Government of India. Department of Consumer Affairs, DCA, is one of the two departments under the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution. It was constituted as a separate department in June 1997 as it was considered necessary to have a separate department to give a fillip to the nascent consumer movement in the country. The department has been entrusted with the following work: internal trade, the Essential Commodities Act, 1955, 10 of 1955, supply, prices and distribution of essential commodities not dealt with specifically by any other department. Prevention of Black Marketing and Maintenance of Supply of Essential Commodities Act, 1980, 7 of 1980. Regulation of Packaged Commodities, Training in Legal Metrology, the Emblems and Names, Prevention of Improper Use, Act, 1952. Implementation of Standards of Weights and Measures, the Legal Metrology Act, 2009. Implementation of Bureau of Indian Standards Act, 1986, laying down specifications, standards and codes and ensuring quality. Control of biofuels for end users, consumer cooperatives, implementation of Consumer Protection Act, 1986, monitoring of prices and availability of essential commodities, National Test House, Department of Consumer Affairs has been receiving a very large number of complaints from the consumers regarding shortfall in the supplies expectations of the consumers. The complaints cover a wide range of subjects like supply of defective refrigerators, TV sets, use of poor material by the builders in the construction of flats, non-refund of fixed deposit amounts by companies on maturity and complaint against unfair trade practice against service providers, etc. 3.4 Consumer Welfare Fund. The Central Excise and Salt Act, 1944 was amended in 1991 to enable the central government to create the Consumer Welfare Fund where the money that is not refundable to the manufacturers, etc. shall be credited. The money credited to the fund is to be utilized by the central government Department of Consumer Welfare for the welfare of the consumers in accordance with the rules framed. The fund has been set up by the Department of Revenue and is being operated by the Ministry of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution, and Department of Consumer Affairs. The Department of Consumer Affairs every year invite proposals from agencies, organizations engaged in consumer welfare activities and who meet the eligibility criteria set out in the guidelines that follow. 3.4.1 Eligibility for Consumer Welfare Fund. Any agency organization engaged in consumer welfare activities for at least a period of 3 years after registration under the Companies Act, 1956, or under any other law for the time being in force, including village mandal, Samiti-level cooperatives of consumers, especially women, scheduled castes, and scheduled tribes, or any industry as defined in the Industrial Disputes Act, 1947, recommended by the Bureau to be engaged for a period of 5 years in viable and useful research activity which had made, or is likely to make, significant contribution in formulation of standard mark of the products of mass consumption, or state governments, and having audited accounts for the 3 years preceding the year when its proposal is under the consideration of the Standing Committee. In the selection of proposals, preferences are given to organizations having an all-India character and having reputation, capacity, experience, skilled staff and standing, organizations working for empowerment of rural consumers and having larger participation of women and socially marginalized segments, projects which are innovative, and focus on institutionalizing arrangements and is likely to have lasting impact for consumer welfare, an industry or an association of industries as defined under Industrial Disputes Act 1947, which has been engaged in viable and fruitful research activities for a period of 10 years, which has made or is likely to make significant contribution in formulation of standard mark of products of mass consumption. Central and state government, departments, organizations, undertakings, consumers, consumer organizations for taking up class action suits instituted to pursue common interest of consumers or a group of consumers against providers of goods or services, proposals which have a national level outreach and impact, and are innovative in raising consumer empowerment awareness and are replicable. 3.4.2 Items that qualify for assistance, recurring and non-recurring expenses will be decided as per the individual schemes. However, generally the following items may qualify for assistance: purchase of hardware, software, equipments, internet services for activities other than short duration studies, purchase of minimum furniture for activity other than short duration studies, charges for delivery of services, other charges as may be considered necessary by the standing committee for the proper running of the program project in special circumstances. Construction, purchase of office space or building by the central state PSU. This will be subject to the conditions that the state government PSU, as the case may be, will share a part of the cost, either by providing land for the building free of cost or meeting 30% of the cost of the building. However, the standing committee may decide the quantum of assistance of fund needed on a case-to-case basis. Grants in aid towards administrative expenditure will not be allowed to VCOs. This condition will not be applicable in the case of proposals for setting up chairs and centers of excellence in Indian universities, national law colleges, IIMs and IITs, etc. 3.4.3 Extent of assistance. The quantum of assistance for a project shall normally not exceed 3 crores rupees. However, the standing committee may sanction higher amounts in exceptional circumstances for reasons to be recorded in writing for such an exception. A grantee shall ordinarily be required to meet 25% of the cost of the project through its own resources, of which at least 15% will be in cash. However, the standing committee may, for reasons to be recorded in writing, with this condition partially or wholly. Assistance will normally be for 3 years and, in rare cases, extendable by 1 or 2 more years, whereafter it will be expected to have become self-sustaining. It shall be the responsibility of project holder to arrange for the running and maintenance of the project after cessation of assistance from CWF. The project proposal should invariably indicate how the organization proposes to run the project activities in the post-grant period and source of income. No assistance will be given to proposals coming from states that are given corpus fund to set up state consumer welfare fund unless the project focus has a national regional level outreach. 3.5 Consumer Protection Unit. As we are aware that the main objective of the Consumer Protection Act 1986 is to provide a speedy and simple redressal to 3.10.6 License. No person should manufacture, sell or repair any weight or measure without obtaining a license from the Controller of Legal Metrology. A licensee is required to maintain records and registers as prescribed. He is also required to produce the records and registers at the time of inspection. 3.10.7 Verification of weights and measures. Every weight or measure should be verified before putting them into use in any transaction. The central government will prescribe the kinds of weights and measures which should be verified by the government-approved test centers. The test centers will be notified by the central state governments. 3.10.8 Compounding of offences. Some of the offences may be compounded before or after the institution of a prosecution on payment of a prescribed sum. No offence can be compounded if the same or similar offense was committed earlier by the person within 3 years of date of first offense which was compounded. 3.10.9 Offenses by companies. A company may nominate a person who will be responsible for the conduct of the company. Such nomination should be communicated to the Director of Legal Metrology or the concerned controller. The nominated person and the company itself will be held responsible for violation of provisions of the Act. When no person is nominated, the person who is in charge or responsible to the company will be held responsible. Even if a person is nominated, any other person responsible to the company and due to whose consent or negligence led to the violation will also be held liable for any offense committed. When a company is convicted, the court may direct the company to publish its name and the offense committed by it in the newspapers at the cost of the company. 3rd October 2010 Appeal. Every decision or order of an officer of legal metrology will be appealable to the next higher authority within 60 days of passing the order or decision. The central or the state government may call for records from its officer for examination and passing appropriate orders. 3.11 State government and others. Various schemes under Consumer Welfare Fund are provided by the government from time to time. These schemes are 3.11.1 Jagriti Shivir Yojana. An integrated awareness campaign titled Jagriti Shivir Yojana was launched in June 2001. The scheme aims at spreading consumer awareness at district level by holding camps, meetings, functions, etc., through the state government and district administration officials in association with local elected representatives. 3.11.2 District Consumer Information Center. A new scheme to set up a district consumer information center in each district of the country in a phased manner over a period of 3 years at a cost of Rs 5 lakh per center was launched in October 2000. These centers are to be set up and run by Jilla Parishad's voluntary consumer organization of repute educational institutions on a continuous basis. They are expected to raise consumer awareness and assist consumers in seeking redressal of their grievances. So far, the scheme has been sanctioned for 96 districts in the country. 3.11.3 Consumer Clubs. This scheme was launched in 2002. There is provision for one consumer club in each middle higher secondary school college affiliated to a government recognized board university. A grant of 10,000 rupees per consumer club is admissible under this scheme. This scheme has been decentralized and transferred to the state UT governments with effect from 1st April 2004. All interested NGO, VCOs have to apply to the nodal officer in the Food, PD and Consumer Welfare Department of the respective states UTs. Till the end of March 2006, 4,661 consumer clubs were sanctioned in the states of Andhra Pradesh, Tripura, Maharashtra, Gujarat, Odisha, Rajasthan, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Jammu, Kashmir, Haryana, NCT of Delhi, Punjab, Sikkim, Lakshadweep, Himachal Pradesh and Arunachal Pradesh. 3.11.4 Promoting involvement of research institutions, universities, colleges, etc. in consumer protection and welfare. This scheme has been launched recently to sponsor research and evaluation studies in the field of consumer welfare to provide solution to the practical problems being faced by the consumers, to sponsor seminars, workshops, conferences on the consumer-related issues and to have necessary inputs for formulation of policy program scheme for the protection and welfare of the consumer. The Indian Institute of Public Administration, IIPA, New Delhi has been identified as the nodal organization to administer this scheme. 3.11.5 Publicity measures. The success of consumer movement mainly depends upon the level of consumer awareness generated in the country by educating the consumer about their right and responsibilities, coupled with effective functioning of the consumer forums, where the consumers can ultimately assert their rights in seeking redressal. Where the literacy rate is high and social awareness is greater, the consumer cannot be easily exploited. Within India, the level of consumer awareness varies from state to state depending upon the level of literacy and the social awareness of the people. The Department of Consumer Affairs has been providing with an annual budget of 3.10 crores rupees during 10th plan period. Out of this meager budget available, the department has been taking a number of steps to strengthen consumer movement in the country involving the state governments, voluntary consumer organizations to generate consumer awareness. Some of the important initiatives are Gyanvani channel, radio spots, video programs like Grahak Dost, Kisan channel, video spots, quarterly magazine, Upbhokta Jagran, booklets about welfare schemes of the ministry, newspapers, ads, cinema slides or animation, displays, 3.11.6 training programs to educate consumer organizations and other sections of society. The department has conducted training programs in the field of consumer protection. The training programs are also being conducted for non-judicial members and presidents of the state commissions district forums. To improve the above training programs, the work relating to assessing the requirements, selection of participants and course content has been entrusted to National Commission. These programs are being conducted in collaboration with Indian Institute of Public Administration, IIPA. New Delhi, 3.11.7 Awards on Consumer Protection to encourage voluntary consumer organizations, particularly women organizations, and those functioning in rural, tribal and backward areas. Swami Vivekananda National Award for Consumer Protection has been instituted. The award comprises first, second and third prize of 50,000 rupees, 40,000 rupees and 30,000 rupees respectively along with the certificates of merit. To involve the youth of this country in promoting a strong consumer movement particularly at grassroots level, the department has instituted a Swami Vivekananda National Youth Award for Consumer Protection. Youth in the age group of 15 to 35 years who have done outstanding work in the field of consumer protection are eligible for the award. The award comprises three prizes of 20,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees and 10,000 rupees along with certificates of merit. Similarly, a Swami Vivekananda National Award for Women has been instituted to recognize women who have done outstanding work in the field of consumer protection. The award comprises three prizes of 20,000 rupees, 15,000 rupees and 10,000 rupees along with certificates of merit. The National Award was named after Swami Vivekananda in 1998. The Swami Vivekananda National Awards for the year 2001 were distributed in the Central Consumer Protection Council (CCPC) meeting held in March 2003. 3.11.8 National Consumer Helpline Department has sanctioned a proposal to set up a National Consumer Helpline in Delhi University by utilizing funds from CWF. The objectives of the scheme are 1. To create awareness among consumers regarding their rights and responsibilities, 2. To provide telephonic as well as personal counseling to consumers, 3. To provide assistance for out-of-court settlements of consumer disputes. The methodology to be adopted for the helpline would include publicity through leading newspapers at regular intervals, toll-free telephone lines covering the entire country and trained manpower to provide counseling and assistance. 3.11.9 Jagriti Shivir Yojana. Jagriti Shivir Yojana has been launched in June 2001. The scheme aims at spreading awareness through the state government and the district administration officials in association with local elected representatives. 3rd November 2010 Setting up of District Consumer Information Center, a scheme to set up a district consumer information center in each district of the country in a phased manner at a cost of 5 lakhs rupees per center was launched in October 2000. These centers are to be set up by Jilla Parishads, voluntary consumer organizations of repute on a continuous basis. 3.1 to Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS. Bureau of Indian Standards, BIS, the national standards body, has been successfully promoting and nurturing standards movement within the country since 1947. BIS came into existence on 1 April 1987 through an Act of Parliament dated 26 November 1986. It took over the staff, assets, liabilities and functions of the erstwhile Indian Standards Institution, ISI, with an enlarged scope and enhanced powers for harmonious development of activities of standardization, marking and quality certification of goods and for matters connected therewith or incidental thereto. Keeping in view the interest of consumers as well as the industry, BIS is involved in various activities as given below: I. Standards formulation. 2. Certification, product, hallmarking and systems. 3. Foreign manufacturers scheme. 4. Registration scheme. V. Testing and calibration services. 6. Sale of Indian standards and other publications. 7. International activities. 8. Eye care activities for consumer and industry. 9. Promotional activities, KISS Smiley training services. 11. Information services. 12. Financial, resources, mobilization and utilization. 13. Trade facilitation cell. 14. Library services. The Bureau is a body corporate consisting of 25 members representing both central and state governments, members of parliament, industry, scientific and research institutions, consumer organizations and professional bodies, with Union Minister of Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution as its president and with Minister of State for Consumer Affairs, Food and Public Distribution as its vice president. 3.12.1 Overview of BIS. Standardization is sine qua non for development of the national economy all over the world. The goals of quality are set by standardization. Generally, the activity consists of the process of formulating, issuing, and implementing standards. Standards have always been closely connected with exchange of goods and services between suppliers and consumers. Bureau of Indian Standards has provided traceable and tangible benefits to economy in a number of ways, providing safe, reliable, quality goods, minimizing health hazards to consumers, promote exports and imports, substitute, control over proliferation of varieties, etc. BIS has its headquarters at New Delhi and its 05 regional offices, ROS, are at Kolkata, Eastern, Chennai, Southern, Mumbai, Western, Chandigarh, Northern, and Delhi, Central. Under the regional offices are the branch offices, BOS, located at Ahmedabad, Bangalore, Bhubaneswar, Bhopal, Coimbatore, Dehradun, Faridabad, Ghaziabad, Guwahati, Hyderabad, Jaipur, Kochi, Lucknow, Nagpur, Parvanu, Patna, Pune, Rajkot, Raipur, Durgapur, Jamshedpur and Vishakhapatnam, which offer certification services to the industry and serve as effective link between state governments, industries, technical institutions, consumer organizations, etc. of the respective region. 3.12.2 How Indian standards are made. Any ministry of the central government, state governments, union, territory administrations, consumer organizations, industrial units, industry associations, professional bodies, members of the Bureau and members of its technical committees may submit proposals to the Bureau for establishing a standard or for revising, amending, or cancelling an established standard. By making such request in writing, the work of formulation of standards on any specific subject shall be undertaken when the Division Council concerned is satisfied as a result of its own deliberations or on investigation and consultation with concerned interests that the necessity for standardization has been established, when the subject has been so investigated and the need established, the Division Council concerned shall assign the task of formulating the standard to an appropriate technical committee or shall appoint a new technical committee for the purpose. When request for establishing a standard for any specific subject has not been accepted after its due consideration, the proposer is informed of the decision. A draft standard prepared and duly approved by a committee is issued in draft form and widely circulated for a period of not less than 1 month amongst the various interests concerned for critical review and suggestions for improvement. The wide circulation may be waived if so decided by the sectional committee where the matter is urgent or non-controversial. Special attention is given to multidisciplinary areas such as energy conservation, environmental protection, rural development and safety. The appropriate technical committee thereafter finalizes the draft standard, giving due consideration to the comments that may be received. The draft standard, after it has been approved by the sectional committee and submitted to the chairman of the division council concerned for adoption on its behalf, all established standards are reviewed periodically, at least once in 5 years, to determine the need for revision or withdrawal. Standards which, in the opinion of the sectional committee, need no revision or amendment, are reaffirmed by the sectional committee. So far, over 21,000 standards have been formulated in different technology areas. 3.12.3 Bureau of Indian Standards Act, 2016, the Ministry of Law and Justice, Government of India notified the Bureau of Indian Standards Act, 2016 on 22 March 2016 upon receiving the assent of the President. The new Act repeals the Bureau of Indian Standards Act, 1986. The Act provides for the establishment of a national standards body for the harmonious development of the activities of standardization, conformity assessment, and quality assurance of goods, articles, processes, systems and services. Some of the major features of the Act have been highlighted below. 1. The Act establishes a national body in the name of Bureau of Indian Standards to implement the mandate of the Act. 2. A governing council has been constituted for performing general superintendence, direction and management of the affairs of the Bureau, with the Minister in charge as the ex officio President of the Bureau, Minister of State as the ex officio Vice President of the Bureau, Secretary to the Government of India of the Ministry having administrative control of the Bureau, the Director General of the Bureau, other persons representing the government or other relevant institutions. 3. The Bureau has been empowered to notify conformity assessment schemes for any goods, article, process, system or service, which mean to demonstrate the requirements related to any article, process, system, service, person or body. 4. The Director General of the Bureau has been made the chief executive authority of the Bureau for implementing the mandate of the Act. 5. No court lower than that of a metropolitan magistrate or judicial magistrate of the first class is empowered to take cognizance of any offence punishable under this Act. 3.13 Summary. The Consumer Protection Act, 1986 is a consumer-specific legislation designed to provide for speedy and inexpensive remedy to the consumers. The Act for the first time gives statutory recognition to the rights of the consumers. 3-tier redressal machinery at the district, state and the national level has been constituted. The Act offers remedies to consumers not only in respect of defects in goods or deficiencies in services but also for overcharging and a host of unfair and restrictive trade practices. Consumer protection means safeguarding the interest and rights of consumers. In other words, it refers to the measures adopted for the protection of consumers from unscrupulous and unethical malpractices by the business and to provide them speedy redressal of their grievances. Thank you. Subscribe to our channel for more updates, and we will see you with the next chapter.